Welcome to Fox 55's Green and Gold Gridiron.
Packers and Cowboys are on a collision course to meet in what people are now calling Ice Bowl 2. The Dallas Cowboys coming to Green Bay for the first time in the playoffs since that famous game back in 1967. We have a lot to talk about on this edition of Fox 55's Green and Gold Gridiron. I am Brian Groff alongside former Packers and Badgers offensive lineman Bill Ferrario.
Brian, how you doing? I'm excited to be here. Excited for Ice Bowl 2. Man, it's getting cold out here in Wisconsin. It's going to be an exciting game in Lambeau Field this Sunday.
Temperatures only expected to be in the teens, though, so a little bit different that way. Dave Robinson was on our show earlier this year. He said he just recently thawed out from the Ice Bowl.
Exactly, yeah. It's not going to be as cold as Ice Bowl 1, but I think the teens are going to be a little bit colder than what Dallas is used to, so play to Packers' advantage.
Dallas moved on by defeating the Detroit Lions 24-20, and speaking of the cold, we'll go the other way. The Cowboys are on a hot streak. They've won their last 5.
They are. Right now we have two very exciting teams, two teams that are playing very well right now at this point of the season, this point in the playoffs. And I don't know. I think between the weather, outdoors, I really think statistics, streaks, everything's going out the window. It's coming down to who could run the ball in this game. I think whichever team has a 100-yard rusher is going to come out with a W.
We're going to throw some more numbers at you. The Packers 8-0 at home this year. The Cowboys 8-0 on the road. So which one of those two give, or does it not matter because it's a brand new season? We'll start throwing cliches out there at this point.
You know, it is a new season, but at the same time, too, I think that home field advantage of Lambeau, you know, I even go as far to say Tony Romo with his bad luck in the playoffs. I mean, it's tough to block that out of your memory and to go in refocused with a fresh slate. You know, every professional athlete wants to say you can do that, but that's in the back of your head a little bit, those mistakes that you've made in the past.
A little bit later on in the show, we're going to break down the comparisons, the differences between Tony Romo and Aaron Rodgers. The Packers and the Cowboys with some playoff history. Packers fans remember back to the 90s when Green Bay had to keep going down to Dallas. They lost 3 straight years, 93, 94, 95. So finally, seems strange that you have to go all the way back to 67 for the last time Dallas came up there.
It is strange. It's been a long time, but it's nice that we're not going to Dallas and we get that playoff game at home.
Speaking of Dallas, they have really good offensive players and a really good defense. With more on that, let's send it over to Jana Wimmer.
The Packers offense ranks 6th in the NFL, but Sunday they go up against the Dallas D. That's been on a roll. We take a closer look in this week's Breaking the Huddle. The Packers, though, are plus 14 in the turnover ratio this year. Guys?
Thank you very much, Jana. We are so looking forward to this game and much more to come here. And we love the Badgers and Packers connections, and the Cowboys have one right there in their offensive line.
We do. Travis Frederick, a man with a very long beard, could be trying out for Duck Dynasty pretty soon, but he's a heck of a center. I believe he was elected to the Pro Bowl, and somebody that our defensive line will hopefully be knocking over. I don't say that about many Badgers, but I wouldn't mind seeing him on his back every once in a while.
And they're going to keep Aaron Rodgers away from that beard because he's got his own beard guy.
Absolutely. Rodgers does have his own beard guy.
Yes,
We're not going to be pulling any cowboy beards.
No, exactly. All right, stick around, everyone. We have much more to come here on Fox 55's Green and Gold Gridiron. And for the 3rd week in a row, we have a former Packers wide receiver. We'll introduce you to him after this. Welcome back to Fox 55's Green and Gold Gridiron. Brian Groff along with Bill Ferrario, and as always, Keith Roding from PackerReport.com, who will be covering the game at Lambeau Field this weekend.
And it's always warm in the press box, Brian, so glad to be here, and it's going to be a great game. I mean, these are two very evenly matched teams. It's going to be a great chess match, and may come down to making the right decisions down at the goal line there.
Now time for us to introduce our special guest, and yes, a wide receiver for the 3rd week in a row. It is a run of receivers here, an all-conference receiver at the University of Texas at El Paso, where he finished in the school's top 10 in career catches and receiving yards, and in addition to playing 2 seasons for the Packers, also spent some time with the Saints and 49ers. How about a welcome for Chris Francis?
Thank you very much.
Chris, you're one of the many guests we've had this year who have also played basketball with Bill Ferrario. So right off the bat, is it true that Bill is the glue that holds the basketball team together?
He's glue, all right.
Come on now. Come on now. Let's be honest here. He knows about my ups on the basketball court.
They're about this high.
What about my defensive play? I'm aggressive on defense.
Is this on this side of the court or this side of the court?
I play on the correct side of the court.
If you get down the court, you got to get down the court to play defense.
I try and stay on defense so my man can play offense here. I try and feed him the ball and expect him to finish.
He sets a good pick, though, right?
Yes, he does.
So as we veered way away from talking football for a little bit, let's get back to football. You signed with the Packers as an undrafted free agent in 2006. That's the beginning of the Mike McCarthy era in Green Bay. Tell us about that first training camp, your first experience, and how he set the tone that season, what would ultimately be a fantastic Super Bowl winning career.
For me, it was a bit of a struggle, and also it was trying to overcome some humps because I was going up against Driver, Jennings, Ravel Martin. So these are all guys who've actually been in the league and they're playing. And being a free agent, you have to do 10 times more than what these guys are doing because they are established. You got Greg Jennings, who's drafted in the rounds, and guys who've been drafted are already pretty much on the team, and guys who are free agents, you still have to make the team. So it was pretty tough.
So what did you do to make the team? Because you were there not only in 06, but the next season as well.
I did what I could do. I do special teams on scout team. I did punt, block. I did the field goal. So I try to do pretty much any and everything I can do just to get them to notice me.
Now, Chris, you did get in. You do have a couple catches that you got that season in 06 when Brett Favre was at quarterback.
Yep.
But, of course, Aaron Rodgers was there too, so you took snaps from him. I mean, is that something cool to look back on now? You tell people, you know what, I caught passes from Brett Favre, caught him from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, is that something you still enjoy talking about when you watch him play now?
I do. It's whenever I tell people I play for them, they're like, so which quarterback did you have? I was like, I had both. Really? So I light up when I say I called 2 passes from Brett Favre, and they always ask me, so who throws harder? It's like Aaron has a stronger arm, but Brett, the whole no look pass thing, it killed me. He did that to me one time in practice. He was looking over here, but he threw it this way, and he kind of caught me off guard. So, but they were both really good quarterbacks.
Didn't break any fingers, though.
No. But I did split my, I guess you want to call this mid finger, or I don't even know what this is called. I did split this open, and I had to get 3 stitches here. I split it open twice.
From a Favre pass?
No, from an Ingo Martin pass.
Oh.
Ingo Martin was the other quarterback.
Yep.
Didn't they?
You're the only guy that split his hand open from anything.
I probably am.
Wouldn't the quarterbacks do competitions? Maybe Favre wasn't part of it, but I remember Rodgers in the practice facility throwing deep passes, and they'd throw it a garbage can.
Yes. He was very good at throwing. I don't know how he does it, but the ball was, I think, 40, 50 yards away into this trash can, and he would just lob it up, goes in. It's pretty impressive.
Chris, I know during my time there with Favre, I came in with Robert Ferguson actually as a rookie, and I remember Robert either dislocated or broke his finger from a Favre pass. Can you tell everybody a little bit about just the difference in velocity from those guys like Favre and Rodgers compared to other quarterbacks on what it could do to your fingers if you're not ready for that ball, and also how that might be affected in a cold weather game like this weekend?
Well, with Favre's, again, the whole no-look pass, if you're not ready for it, you can probably jam some figures. But with Aaron, he has so much velocity on his balls. You have to actually, get your fingers ready to catch it. If you don't have your hands ready, the ball will slip out, hit you in the face. And being from Texas and Dallas coming up here to play, this cold weather is going to have a big effect on them because I know when I go outside, the first thing that gets cold is my hands. And if you don't keep those warm, then you can forget it as far as receiver-wise. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see those guys huddled up around the heater and trying to do everything they can to keep their hands warm because once your hands goes, you can forget it.
In addition to playing with the Packers, you spent time with a couple other NFL teams. You also played in other leagues. Where did your football career take you after Green Bay, and what things are you doing nowadays?
Working at HOA for about 3 years now. We live in Green Bay. We just moved to a new house, so things are going well.
Now, Chris, I have to ask, too, you played at UTEP.
Yep.
You're from Houston. Tell me you were an Oilers fan and not a Cowboys fan growing up.
I was actually a San Francisco 49ers fan.
I guess we'll take that this weekend.
It was a whole Jerry Rice era.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you can't go wrong with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana.
You can't.
All right.
As you look at this Cowboys team that's coming to Green Bay, they're very good at taking the football away from an offensive standpoint. What kind of things do you think the Packers need to do to get a victory this weekend?
If they have a good effective running game, they should do pretty good. I think it's going to be too cold to probably air it out because the ball's going to be hard and the hands are going to be cold. So whoever has a better running game should come out ahead.
And they do have a pretty good running game, too. So you think the
okay.
Packers' run defense is up to stopping DeMarco Murray?
I would like to think so, yes.
Well, I think as we've been saying all season, we've been addressing it, that the Packers' run defense and just defense overall has been surprising us and just improving week after week. Where I think I'd have a lot of questions about it early on in the season, but lately I've been very pleasantly surprised with how we've been making improvements and gaining ground on defense.
It's such a different defense overall, but especially against the run. After that bye, after they took Clay Matthews, started playing him in the middle, LaTroy Guion, when he started coming on, Sam Barrington kind of growing into that role, getting more plays in the middle. So, and Morgan Burnett too. I think Morgan Burnett's playing as well as I've ever seen him play. So all those things coming together. I mean, this is a different defense in the second half of the season.
I think you just led us into our Titletown topics.
Wonderful.
Just like that.
Just
You were
like, how did
Mr.
that
Segway.
It was as if I knew.
We're going to turn our attention now to those topics with Jana and one of the guys that you just mentioned. So Jana, take it away.
Yeah, following the season, the Packers will have 14 free agents. Guys, who are your top priorities?
Keith, we're going to start with you because you led us here.
I mean, obviously Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb with the season he's had, coming back from the broken leg last year. I mean, one of the top receivers in the league. I mean, if not for Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb's the number one on any other team. But again, defensively, I think LaTroy Guion, with what he's done filling in for B.J. Raji, who, everybody was concerned when Raji got hurt, but with the season that he really had last year and the year before, I think Guion's come in and just played incredible. I mean, he's big, he's athletic, he's 3.5 sacks, 62 tackles. So, I think you got to lock those guys up. I think an interesting one to watch will be Tremont Williams and Devon House. I don't think they're going to keep both of those guys. So do you go with youth or do you go with experience?
And House has had some injuries this year. What do you think, Bill?
I think LaTroy Guion, I think Randall Cobb is definitely a valuable player to keep on board, but I think defense in particular, we need to keep that defense solid. We need to keep those D linemen to be able to stop the run. We see what happens when we don't have those big, important guys up front. And my opinion is there's no, at least to my knowledge, there's no awards given for having money left over in the salary cap. So I say let's spend it. Let's get guys in free agent. Let's keep the free agents we have that are on the verge, and let's try and win championships and not brag about money being saved under the salary
But
cap.
Thompson never spends it.
Exactly.
And that's what I don't like. I want to spend it
until he did.
And I want
until
that
he did.
championship every single year.
Julius Peppers and Guion. So
He did, which was a huge improvement this last year.
Yeah.
But still, hearing, I think, what are we saying, that we're going to end the year with $8 million under the salary cap, I think?
Right.
What are we doing with $8 million under the salary cap? Let's spend that money, go get more players, keep players on board, worry about next year, win a championship this year.
Brian
I thought we
Bulaga's
were getting
another
paid
one.
out of that.
You're
No,
getting
we're
part of
not.
that?
I don't know.
Who would
Doing
you
a
spend
bigger
the money
stadium?
on? GM Chris Francis, who would you spend the money on?
Probably defense. I mean, we need more defensive players. The defense win championships. So I think if we can just keep our defensive guys there and they can come together as a team, I think that should do good for us.
The other interesting thing, I think, is if Brad Jones and A.J. Hawk are released. We'll see what happens at middle linebacker.
AJ Hawks
Some
do
talk of
$3.5
that.
million. He's been a team guy. He's taken a pay cut. I think he's got a good understanding of the business side of football. I think he still has a value. I mean, he still gets snaps in the base and the nickel. And Brad Jones, I don't know. Brad Jones might have as many penalties as tackles this year. So.
And maybe brought back on a different deal. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll have topics 2 and 3 after this.
Welcome back to Green and Gold Gridiron. We are at Scotty's in Schofield. Former Packers wide receiver Chris Francis joins us tonight. We have discussed topic 1. Now it's time for 2 and 3. So for topic 2, let's compare and contrast the two starting quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo. Guys, who do you think gives their team a better chance to win?
I think looking at both these quarterbacks, they both had phenomenal years, and overall they're both very good quarterbacks. I think Romo's year this year has definitely improved from where he was at. But the bottom line, and I know in certain statistical categories, Romo came out on top over Aaron Rodgers. But I think the bottom line thing is if you had to pick a quarterback, a franchise quarterback for your team, you're picking Aaron Rodgers and you're sticking with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, you probably would have lost a bet if at the beginning of the season we had to say who was going to have better stats. I wouldn't have picked Romo over Rodgers. But the bottom line thing is I think any of the 32 teams would pick Aaron Rodgers every single time.
Well, I guess for me it's Romo because he's come on strong at the end. And for him to come on strong like that and so many years he's been like an iffy quarterback, I think he's trying to prove himself that he's worth that money that he's been given so far. So I think as of right now, I think Romo has that slight edge over Rodgers.
And I guess not to cut you off, Keith, but to touch on this is I agree with that about peaking at the end, but don't you think with all the faults Romo's had in the playoffs that that's in the back of his mind somewhere? I mean, every athlete says you don't want to think about the past and you want to think about today's game or tomorrow's game, but don't you think he's thinking about all those end of the season or playoff missteps that he's had the last couple years?
Yeah, but as a quarterback like Romo, who's been in the game for such a long time, I think he's probably put that behind. He's maybe thought about it for a little bit, but he wants to prove himself because the past few years he hasn't been that guy who's stepped up to that money that he's been given. So I think he'll try to do his best in this game.
I think statistically, Romo's been a great quarterback for years. I think he gets a bad rap, but, I think with him, it's those mistakes, those kind of dumb mistakes out of nowhere, which honestly is, almost Jay Cutler-esque. And I feel like that's kind of what keeps him from, at least in people's mind, being that elite quarterback. And I feel like that is the difference with him and Rodgers, where not like Aaron Rodgers couldn't have something like that happen, but that's out of character for him. And I really feel like Rodgers, with that awful game at Buffalo, he kind of got that clunker out of the way. They got the drops out of the way. They got the bad reads out of the way, the overthrows. I feel like Rodgers is locked in. So, again, one game in a playoff, I love Aaron Rodgers.
Both battling with injuries at this point in the season, the rib and the back injury for Romo, and then obviously Rodgers with the calf. So we'll see how that plays out this weekend. Topic number 3, Jana.
Okay, so we discussed Romo and Rodgers. Of the other 3 games this weekend, what quarterback matchup are you most looking forward to seeing?
So, Chris, we'll start with you. We have the Joe Flacco against Tom Brady. We have Cam Newton against Russell Wilson. And we have Andrew Luck at Peyton Manning's Broncos.
I want to see the Andrew Luck-Peyton matchup because I think Andrew Luck's going to go into this game thinking, I have something to prove to Peyton and everybody else who decide to let Peyton go. So I want to say Andrew Luck-Peyton. I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup.
I think Joe Flacco becomes kind of a different guy in the playoffs, and there's something about him. He makes plays that you don't see during the year, and then he's going up against Tom Brady, a guy who, his last 2 trips to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Giants. So Brady hasn't won a Super Bowl in 10 years since the 04 season. So I feel like he's kind of, getting up there a little bit. We don't think of him as being old, but, I think he's starting to think a little bit about his legacy and how many more chances he's going to have. So I think that's going to be a great matchup.
Although I got my Badger and Russell Wilson, I got to go with Luck versus Manning. I think it's the young versus the old. And like Chris said, I think it's a lot of with Andrew Luck proven that he deserves to be there and proven to all those fans that he could beat Peyton Manning. And it was right to make that decision, move forward with.
I'm going to go with Luck Manning as well. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have Bills breakdown, and we are taking a look at that controversial play in the Cowboys-Lions game.
I didn't drop it.
And
Francis
we can all
knows
see,
I never drop a ball. So that
Bill, this is our subtle hint. We've had 3 receivers in a row. You need to hang on to the football.
I don't.
All with the same reaction when they won.
That's all tape. It's all edited. Chris knows nothing like that would ever happen.
Right.
Is that true?
With football, yes. Basketball is a different story.
We're just giving you a little glimpse. Let's get into Bill's breakdown. Obviously, with the Packers not playing, we had to find a play from Cowboys-Lions. We have a good one. It's going to spark a good conversation here, and this is about the penalty that was and then wasn't. So you can explain it for us, Bill.
Yeah, there was a – started off, there's a missed penalty, there's a called penalty, there's a flag picked up, and then there's what I think should be another penalty on the play. Here's the pass interference that they called.
And this is on linebacker Anthony Hitchens.
Now, my take on it is I personally don't even feel that's pass interference. Ultimately, pass interference is a judgment call by the official, which, we all know how the officials are. But the interesting thing with this is that they actually throw the flag, then they pick it up. This here, and we could get back to the pass interference, but seeing Des Bryant here on the field, I actually thought it was a rule that you can't – I didn't think it was Greg Jennings, but I thought it was a rule you couldn't be on the field with your helmet off. Keith corrected me and said – if you're not on the play,
well, they don't.
It's not the rule.
They could still call it a penalty, but they don't worry about it as much coming off the sideline.
Okay. But I guess to me, where pass interference is, I think it is. I don't think it is. He tugged the jersey. He didn't. To me, they're barely touching. Receivers and D-back. I know they can't touch as much as they used to.
I want to hear. I want to hear if Chris thinks that was
you're telling
obvious
me
pass
D-backs
interference.
never put their hands on you and didn't get called.
Well, after 5 yards, you can't touch me. So
but does it happen though?
It doesn't happen.
Defensive linemen aren't supposed to hold me when I try and get to linebacker level.
Well,
but
you
it still
guys
happens.
touch it.
But how obvious did
play
you
with
think
each other
that
all day
was?
anyway.
How obvious did you think that was for pass interference?
To me, it'd been obvious because he grabbed his jersey after 5 yards. He appeared his
But ultimately, it's a judgment call by the official,
Right,
correct?
right.
It's not black and white. So
But the defensive holding could have been called, and that was black and white.
could have, yeah.
The NFL told the Lions Tuesday afternoon that they should have called holding.
But worse yet, they
Yeah,
held
tell us what else
Ndamukong.
was wrong
Yeah,
with
they
this
held
play.
Ndamukong Suh. Well, it wasn't even this play. They held Ndamukong Suh on the 4th down conversion, and that was blatant. And the officials sent the apology letter to the Lions for that.
I think the
and
big
that actually
umbrella
would have
over all this
changed the
that
outcome.
doesn't get talked about
Potentially.
with all these bad calls in the playoffs is that these are all-star crews that are put together.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
you have good
ridiculous.
crews throughout the season that make good calls that work together consistently. And then in games that mean the most, you pick and choose and put these guys together that don't know each other. So now you get a guy throwing a flag. The flag's on the ground. They talk as a group. Then they change it and pick it up.
One guy called one guy tried to explain it as face guarding, which isn't even a penalty at the NFL level. I thought it was, Chris. You,
I
you
thought
said
it was,
you thought
too.
it was.
I knew it was
you
at
al-
one
you al-
level, and I've heard
you're
from
always
many
you're always
people
told
it's
you have to look back at the ball, right? You
right.
can't just. I don't know, but yeah, I agree. You know, they score these officials individually throughout the year, and then they throw them all together at the end, and that's. I say take the best crew that works together as a team, put them out there for the most important games.
Why wouldn't
Bill
you?
and I agree.
So that is our,
For
and
once,
we
there's-
never
How
get
about
that.
that?
That is
Chalk
our
that up.
extremely comprehensive Bills breakdown
Yes.
for this week. We appreciate
Playoff
all that.
edition.
Let's turn now playoff. You were amping it up for the playoffs too. Let's do the Fox 55 pick'ems.
Divisional playoff weekend. We start off with Ravens at Patriots.
I'm going to
Patriots.
go Patriots.
See, Brian picked up a game on me, so he's going to pick everything that I pick.
I guess
Now,
I'll
if
go
we were
with-
going to do that,
We should
pick
do
guys in
reverse order, maybe.
We should. Let's
Look at that. Everybody took the Patriots.
Next up, we have Panthers at Seahawks, and that game is 7:15 Saturday night right here on Fox 55. I'm going Seahawks at
Are
home.
the Panthers going to win again?
No.
No.
I'm going with the
Oh.
Panthers. They were
Not
looking
with the
pretty
Badger
good.
quarterback for the Seahawks.
But they know his game already. He's
Know his
already
game.
figured out.
He's unstoppable.
He's
know
figured
his
out
game.
already.
Get out of
They're
here.
deep. They're deep.
So
No,
we're
it's
gonna,
tough.
Chris,
I'll
we're
say
gonna
that.
see a championship game at Lambeau Field. Is that what
Possibly,
you're telling me?
yes.
Okay,
Look at
we'll
that.
see how
I
you
like
pick
it.
in 2 more games.
Sunday games, Colts at Broncos. Broncos.
I'm gonna go home team again. Keith needs to
Gotta
make
make
up
up
I
the
have
game.
to make up
ground,
a
Keith.
game.
I think Luck has something to prove.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
And last but not least, right here on Fox 55 at noon on Sunday, we have Cowboys at Packers.
Keith, you can't
I'm
take.
not.
You
I'm not
can't
going to
take
make it up.
Patriots
I'm not
again.
going to make it up.
I hope I don't get shot for
I'm
this.
gonna go.
What?
Wow.
I can't believe somebody didn't pick the
So
Packers.
So let's get.
Gosh,
you
can you
being
even
from
imagine
Texas. So
somebody
Chris,
Being
would
from
do that?
Texas. Sorry. You
Chris,
know,
you believe that the NFC Championship game will be Panthers Cowboys in Dallas.
I don't believe it, but anything could happen.
That's exactly it.
Chris
That's the
actually didn't
playoffs.
know this gets aired in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So please keep inviting Chris to the alumni events. He really loves the Packers.
Let's hear it for Chris Francis. Thanks for coming out this evening.
Thanks for having me.
For Bill Ferrario, for Keith Rordink, for Jana Wimmer, I am Brian Groff. By the
put
way,
that
we
over
only
now.
have 3 more games to pick the rest of the year. We have our 2 championship games and the Super Bowl. We're going all the way through the end of the season. Thanks for coming out and thanks for watching.
Nice job.
Thank you for watching Fox 55's Green and Gold Gridiron.